and welcome to another episode of Speakers on Edge, your story, your way. And today we have a wonderful speaker for you. Now, this lady has, been on stages and spoken in public since she was 12 years old. Her mission in life is to touch the lives of people and to change those lives one word at a time. She's someone that I absolutely love listening to, and I hope you do too. Would you please welcome our guest today, Marianne?
I don't know about you. Have you ever been sitting alone by yourself, left alone with your thoughts, those quiet moments, and you look around at all of your accomplishments and your results, and with a bit of pride you say, "Okay, this is good, but I'm hungrier. I want something more." Maybe you're like me and you have been thankful but not satisfied. My name is Marianne Hickman, and I felt this way so many times. In fact, I felt this way when I was at my highest highs, when I was achieving six figures and multiple six figures through my business. And I felt this way at my lowest lows when I was on welfare and food stamps and government assistance, looking around as a single mom of five kid, not sure where not just my next meal, but my next bite of life would come from. I say I grew up in a beautiful family, in a beautiful home, in a beautiful place. And if you were to look at my life from the outside, like I have, maybe this is you too. I don't know that I could pinpoint a specific traumatic moment. See, a lot of speakers, they get on stage and they have this hugely traumatic moment. I've spoken with Jeff Griffin, who fell from a ladder and is paralyzed from the waist down, and used that story to go play in the Paralympics. And I've heard other amazing stories of near death experiences. And I'm sitting here looking at my life, asking myself, am I somehow insignificant? Is my story somehow insignificant because nothing significant has happened? It's a weird thing we do. We judge ourselves. We judge ourselves to be either too small, or some people judge themselves to be way too big. Well, let me rewind back in time with you. I was probably 7 years old, and I only know this because I was just sharing earlier that my mom's journals are being transcribed right now. So we get these little pieces of this. My mom's 80 years old. So there's 80 years worth of daily written history. So thank you, Mom, for writing everything down. And I encountered this conversation. This is just a couple of days ago, between my mom and my 7-year-old self. And my 7-year-old self, after going through countless babysitters and after not being heard because I'm the youngest kid, and being observant but almost non-participatory in all the grown-up things that my older siblings are doing, I'm sure in a moment of frustration that I can sense but not remember, I said, "Mom, when do I get to be the boss?" My mom, in her infinite wisdom, not wanting to build up my hopes, and probably in the middle of ironing and doing laundry and trying to hold a business together herself, said, "Sweetie, you're the youngest, never." And then got on to the next thing. I didn't know it, but that filled a chasm, created a chasm inside of me. It was like planting a seed. And I'm a firm believer that as children, we either become exactly like people will expect us to, or we become nothing like people will expect us to. We see our surroundings, we say, "I want exactly that," or we see our surroundings and we say, "I want nothing to do with that ever again." And this seed, it planted inside of me. And I was like Rudy in that movie with the football team in Notre Dame. I said, "That can't be right. That can't be true. There's no possible way." And so with desperation, I fought tooth and nail from the time I was 7 years old for a level of significance, something that made me feel like I belonged, because this is a basic human need, isn't it? We all have a basic human need of, I want to belong. I want to be included. I want to be counted in with something. And so I went on along and I graduated with high marks from high school, and I applied to the colleges, and I followed the blueprint of what everyone told me to do, of going to college. But there was this gnawing feeling inside of me that there's something more. There's something bigger. And I couldn't figure out what it was because I didn't have any examples in my life of anyone that had achieved that something more or something bigger. I had celebrities, but no one who knew my phone number. And I went along, and then I went to college, and then I got married very, very young. I started having kids when I was 20 years old. I'm a mom now. I've got six kids. And then when I was 18, I got married and had my first daughter at 20. And then I was mixed up in, where is Marianne? Is she a mom? Is she a student? Is she a photographer? Is she a business owner? I tried so many beautiful varieties of things. And yet, at the end of the day, I'm sitting there left with my own thoughts. What am I supposed to do? What is this significance? Who am I? And these sound like big ethereal thoughts, right? This seems like the content of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. But really, that's a question that gnaws at our brains until our brains are satisfied with the answer of what is the big thing that we are supposed to do? What is meant there for me? Well, in my process, I went along and I looked for things and I never found it. And I looked for things and I never found it. And I started to succumb to entropy. And you see, entropy is a scientific word. I learned about this in college. Entropy is the word that describes what happens when we don't put work into something. If a tree falls down in the forest, it's just going to naturally decay. It takes work for that tree to absorb water and to grow leaves and to thrive. But without that work, it falls apart. And because I did not know which direction I wanted to go, my life started to fall into entropy. My body started to break down. I started to be overweight after struggling with bulimia in high school. My relationship with my husband definitely eroded. My relationship with my kids was much non-existent, at least not in the way that I wanted it to be, where we had time to focus on each other, where I'm not distracted with work. My finances were the biggest pit I had ever been in. And I remember the moment so clearly when I was so angry at God and so bitter and so resentful because all of these big dreams had to sit aside. I had to put them on the shelf and let them gather dust while I got lost in the busyness of survival. And finally, I hit my knees. Abraham Lincoln says we hit our knees when we have nowhere else to go. And as I folded my arms and was alone in my room that night, I had just finished working on the computer. I had just finished trying to balance checkbooks, which always ended up in the negative. I had just finished putting the baby to bed and finally had some time to myself. And I started negotiating. Not a prayer of some pious religious individual, not someone who was good with God. I was mad. And I said, you know what? You owe me. You owe me. Because everything that I've ever read about my experience that I'm supposed to have on this earth says I'm supposed to live abundantly and everything was made for me and I'm supposed to be able to this big creative personality. And here I am without any of that. So listen, here's what I need you to do. And can you imagine the gall of telling God what to do? I said, listen, here's what I need you to do. I either need you to put a box, and in my head, it was like the lid of a paper box. I need you to put a box on my front porch full of $100,000 so I can pay off my student loans. I can pay off my credit card bills. I can pay off my medical bills and I can get back to zero. And I promise that if you give me that loan, I will be a righteous steward, whatever abundance comes after that. I said, you either need to give me the box or I need you to put someone in my life who can help me fix this money game because I am not thriving. I am barely surviving. I am robbing Peter to pay Paul. My marriage is falling apart. My relationship with my kids is falling apart. My health is falling apart. And I want to share with you what happened after that because there's a single principle that is not widely known. And I want to share with you what it is. This principle says that you decide your own rock bottom. You get to decide when the ball bounces off the bottom. You get to decide when you put the shovel down and stop digging yourself into the hole. And for some of us, we are so stubborn and so set in our ways and so entitled that we keep digging down when instead we should be looking up. Now, after that supplication, if you will, I would be lying if I didn't say that I didn't go out to the front porch and check for the box. I did. I had heard about this happening in fluke things. Who knows if the stories are real? But I opened my door and I looked out on the front porch for the box for 4 days until I gave up. And it was before a week has passed after that prayer is almost too righteous a word. It was desperation, that pleading desperation. I said, listen, if you're not going to give me the box, I need you to answer my prayer in this other way. I need you to put someone in my life that can teach me the game of money. God gives us really crazy gifts and sometimes really weird wrapping paper sometimes. But I went to an event, and my brother had this party and he invited me. And it was a pre-retirement party. And I got to be honest with you, when I went, I smelled what you would smell. I smelled an MLM pitch coming. I smelled a Tupperware party or essential oils party or whatever we used to do back in the early 2000s to get people to join our business. Well, this was no different, except the person speaking at this event claimed to have what I had wanted. The person speaking at this event claimed to have broken the millionaire status. They claimed to do it with their family intact. They claimed to have a body of health. And with all of the skepticism, I sat back and I said, okay, try me. Try me. I want to share with you, there's 3 steps. If you have felt this feeling of desperation, if you have felt this feeling that I've meant for something bigger, if you have felt this feeling of I want to start a business, and then for whatever reason disqualified yourself, I need you to listen to me right now. There are lies that are eroding your future. And the longer that you worship these lies, the further you are away from getting what you were made for. You see, there are 2 most important days in your life: the day you were born and the day you decide why. It's not the day you find out why. It's the day you decide why, because we were given the gift of choice and we get to choose why we're here. We get to choose the things that make us the happiest. So I want to give you 3 things. When you are on this search and you want to find out exactly how to get to where you want to be, whether that's training kids for Broadway musicals, or whether that's being an outdoor guide and training people how to hunt, or whatever it is that brings your heart full of joy, there are 3 simple steps to get there, regardless of what the goal is. Number 1 is do what I did and find someone who's done it. We live in a world of an overabundance of availability of information. We live in a world of libraries. We would live in a world of YouTube. We live in a world where, man, when I was on the Masai Mara in Kenya with this amazing group of people and they're living in houses built out of poop and sticks, somehow they have a cell phone and they're communicating with the world. Don't ask me where they charged it. I have no idea. But we live in this world where literally anyone, anywhere can access whatever information you want to. You just have to know what to ask. And in order to do that, you have to understand number 2. Number 1 is find a mentor, but number 2 is be so clear with what you want that you can pick the right mentor. And to be truthful, maybe these should switch places. Maybe you should be so clear first and then find the person. That makes more sense. But you have to understand so clearly what it is that you want that you can find the person that's done it. Imagine for a moment. Now, I love flying. I'm a student pilot, haven't got my license yet. But imagine for a moment that you were to walk onto the tarmac where your private jet is sitting. And you walk up onto the private jet and you look in the cockpit and you tell the pilot, hey, let's go. The first thing your pilot's going to ask you is, where are we going? And if you look back at him and say, oh, I don't know, somewhere tropical, he's going to say, well, I need a little more direction, because somewhere tropical could mean flying north, south, east, or west if you fly far enough, or it could mean flying a half an hour this way or 3 hours this way. I need to know if I have enough fuel in the tank. I need to know if I have the right aircraft. I need to call in our flight plan. I need to do all of these things. And you will not leave the runway as long as you don't know where you're going. Get clear enough in your mission, in your calling, and what you want to do that you can smell it, that you can taste it. And that way you can give the universe instructions on where and how to fly the plane. Be so clear with what you want to do with that mentor in your side pocket who's already done it, because chances are it's already been done. And number 3, this is one that most people won't do. In fact, all of these things are things that most people won't do. In fact, this is probably not the first time that you have heard these steps. This is not the first time that you've heard find a mentor. This is not the first time that you've heard get clear on your goals. But what I'm telling you is to sit down before you lay your head to your pillow tonight. Sit down for 15 minutes and draw it out. That's step 3. Step 3 is to take action, but you have to know what to do. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 15-minute block of time. I want you to block it off on your calendar because you and I both know unless you put it down on your calendar, something's going to interrupt it or come up or feel more important, like the laundry or who knows what. But sit down for 15 minutes and write. Write it down. In fact, I keep a book with me all the time and I write stuff down that I want to do, what it looks like. What is the color of the paint on the walls in your dream home? What does it smell like? What does it smell like if you take a deep breath in? Does it smell like fresh baked bread? Does it smell like the salty air of the ocean? Does it smell like blossoms blooming at your feet? Does it smell like the high rises of the big city where you want to live? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What are the emotions that come up for you? What does it taste like? What are the foods that you're enjoying while you're doing this? What are the sounds around you? Involve all of the senses that you possibly can when you're writing this down. See, think about this. If you were to plan a vacation, how much time would you spend researching where you want to go? How much time would you spend looking for the right flights? How much time would you spend looking through hotels and swiping through Airbnb? How much time would you plan on spending with who do I go with? Do I want people to come with me? Am I going alone? Where am I going to eat? How am I going to budget for this? What do I need to pack? What happens seasonally in this place that I'm going to so that I know what clothes to bring with me? We spend hours and hours and hours planning a vacation. If you've ever planned a wedding, you know that it takes hours and hours and hours and hours to plan a wedding, sometimes days. But how much time have you given to this dream that's burning inside of you? How much time have you sat down dedicated to taking this ethereal hope or dream and turning it into something that's concrete? And I'm not talking about concrete, like laying the concrete, although that might be part of your dream. Maybe you're building your dream house, or who knows. But I'm talking about the very, very first step of taking this idea and putting it down on paper. It's first baby step into physical form. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not willing to dedicate at least 15 minutes tonight before you go to bed, then please don't worry about living your dreams. Please don't worry about achieving your goals. If it doesn't deserve your time, then it will not come running to you. When I speak on stage, I like to do this little role play. I'm in front of whoever's in the audience, whether it's 300 or 500, whoever, 700 or whatever. I invite one person up onto the stage. And I'm very careful with this because it's super entertaining. And I'm going to ask you the same questions I would ask this audience. If you want something, this goal, this dream, if you want something, you cannot, if you don't currently have it, you cannot achieve it by being who you are today. Because if you could, you would already have it. In order to achieve what you don't have, you must become a person who you are not currently embodying, which means there must be an element of change and there must be an element of teachability. Do you have the ability to be taught? So here, I'm going to give you a little exercise right now. I want you to take out a piece of paper and I want you to draw this out. Simple math, okay? On a scale of 0 to 10 of teachability, starting at 0, 0 means I'm not teachable in the slightest. I know that already. If you've ever said that to yourself, it's going to rank you down closer to 0. Versus 10 is I love to be the dumbest kid in the room. I love to learn from everyone that's around me, from the janitor to the big celebrity on the stage. So rate yourself 0 to 10. How teachable am I? 0 is not so great. 10 is totally teachable. Okay, now you got your number. Write it down. Here's your second one. How adaptable am I? Or changeable, in other words. How willing am I to do something different? 0, again, is I am set in my ways. I drive the same way to work every morning. I wear the same clothes every Monday. I have the same bowl of cereal for breakfast. I go on the same exercise routine. I am so emblazoned in my routine that I'm threatened by anything that's new. Whereas 10, in terms of changeability or adaptability, is I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow. I don't know what I'm doing next. I love variety. I crave it. It was that moment when I was in South Africa and the plane that was supposed to take us home got struck by lightning. And so we were without a plane. We were without a way home. And they booked us all in hotels. And I woke up that morning not knowing where on the planet I would be. And I was so excited. as these amazing teams scramble to find us ways home. They have to put us on all different flights, and I had no idea where on the planet. I ended up in Qatar 10 hours later. It was incredible, and it excited me. So if you have that level of craving for variety, put yourself at a 10. So right now you should have two numbers. The first number you have is rating yourself 0 to 10 on your teachability. The second number that you have is rating yourself 0 to 10 on your changeability or adaptability, in other words. So you should have two numbers, 0 to 10. Now, I want you to take these two numbers, and we're going to go back to third grade math, and we're going to multiply them together. So let's just say that you were middle of the road both times. I'm 5 teachable, I'm 5 out of 10 changeable. If I multiply those together, I get 25. If I'm 7 teachable and I'm totally 10 changeable, now I'm at 70. Okay. Now we're going to take these two numbers, your multiplier, once you've multiplied them together. And by the way, I have a calculator in my pocket every day now, much to my third grade teacher's dismay, I'm sure, because she said, are you ever going to have a calculator with you all the time? Turns out we do. Now you can calculate this. Now that you've got this number, okay, I want you to put a percent sign at the end of it. 25%, 70%, whatever your percent sign is. Now, when I do this in big rooms full of live people, I like to bring someone up on stage with me, but you're going to go with me in this moment. Imagine coming up on stage with me and I'm holding your hand. We're going to role play for just a minute. Now, imagine that I say to you, listen, my dear, dear friend, we've been together for 20 minutes and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I know it sounds weird, but hang with me on this. I know that you're the one for me. I want you to marry me, and I'm only 70% committed to you. Do you feel that? Do you feel the repulsion? Do you feel the pull away? People's jaws drop to the floor. Now, where do I get this number? This is the number that you multiplied. This is the number that you came up with when you were honest with yourself about your teachability and your changeability. It's also the number that represents how likely you are to get what you want. When we're at 25%, based on a multiplication of 5 and 5, we're 25% likely to get our goal. When we're at 70%, we're 70% likely to get our goal. What I have found is that my chances of getting my goal, I'm happiest when they're 100. Now, I'm not the determinator of the gestation period of this goal. That's not my job to decide. But I have to be ruthless in its pursuit. I have to be committed to its outcome. I have to be willing and humble enough to become a person who I am not currently. And I'm not sitting here to tell you that I have achieved everything I've ever wanted. Gosh, if I had achieved everything I have ever wanted right now, I'd feel pretty ripped off because my dreams are so much bigger. I'm content but not satisfied. I'm grateful but still hungry. But I know the formula. And it's what I just gave to you. You need to be so clear on what it is you want. You need to find the right mentor that's going to carry you there because they've been there before. And number 3, we need to take action. Not just once, but every single day. Just like a shower doesn't keep you clean for the rest of your life, one action won't bring you across the finish line to your goal unless you stay consistent with it. So I'm going to give you another chance to take this number, whatever it was, and make it 100%. I want you to rate yourself on your teachability scale, and I want you to rate yourself on your adaptability or your changeability scale. Give yourself a 10 if that's where you want to be. If you want to be a person that says, I want this, I don't care how long it takes, but I'm going to achieve it, I want you to give yourself a 10 on both of those scales. And that means you're going to have to do something different before you go to bed today. And maybe for you, it's this 15-minute exercise of writing everything down. Or maybe for you, you'll take it to your knees as well. And you'll ask your creator, the one that's more intelligent than you are at how to get goals, the one that's helped people like you get to their goals. And you're going to ask and listen for the inspiration and say, what is the single most important thing for me to do before I go to bed tonight? And when you listen and get that answer without judgment, because we tend to judge things, this is where our changeability and our adaptability needs to be a 10. You follow that inspiration to a T. And I'll leave you with this. Whatever it is that you're looking to do, whether you want to speak on stages in front of tens of thousands of people, whether you want to start a business, whether you want to be the most well-known horseback rider in the world, it's not a factor of time. You may be closer than you think. What it's a factor of is how quickly can you take those actions? How quickly can you make the decisions that are so critical for you to make to get there? Because maybe that is only 10 actions away. But if you're too afraid, or if you've been avoiding that one thing that you know you should be doing, don't expect to get your outcome. However, if you can be the extraordinary kind of person that awakens the fire in your soul, the one that says, this is beyond motivation. There's motivation gets me out of bed for a day and helps me report in and look good on Instagram for a moment. When your why is bigger than your motivation, that's what gets you up at 4 o'clock in the morning when you need to. That's what makes you make better choices throughout the day. That's what helps you find the connection. That's what helps you get through whatever process is necessary to acquire your goal. And I'll leave you with this. Just like you, I'm on a mission to find the best people of the planet. And just like you, I want those people to be crazy wealthy, because that is how all of the wealth of this world gets to where it is needed most, and we thrive. Thank you.
Wow. I love having guests like this because Marianne is one of those authentic people. She's one of those people that you want to keep listening to. She's not just an inspiration. She's authentic. She's real. And her purpose is to change lives. Oh, not just change lives, change them for the better. If you feel inspired to meet somebody like Marianne, please go to the Speakers on Edge website. You'll see her beautiful picture there and a button with a link to her website. She's someone I recommend that you definitely follow. That's it for today's episode of Speakers on Edge, your story, your way, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.